Hello everyone, today is 26th of November. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. So today we will be taking a quote from the former Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. So here it has been said, in the theatre of life, it seems man has put the autograph and there is no space for a woman even to put her signature. Now this particular thing highlights that how disproportionately women have been provided the opportunities when compared with the men. Now guys, this particular thing you can provide as a reference into your answers or into your essays onto the women as well as in GS paper number 2 social justice. So guys, that's all about this, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all, let's have a look onto the newspaper articles that we will be discussing today. So this first article has been taken from the Mint newspaper and it is talking about the recent surge into the cryptocurrencies. Then guys, this second article, it has been taken from the Business Standard and it is talking about that how pandemic is turning to be a boon for the women. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Financial Express and here we will be seeing that how the cyber security is now needed to be more focused into the wake of recent attacks onto the public utilities. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it is talking about the reforms into the trade unions as well as how the social dialogue is needed to be focused on. Then guys, this particular article is again taken from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about some recommendation with respect to the jobs and exports. Then guys, this particular article has also been taken from the Hindu newspaper and it is talking about the recent India's entry to the Oscars. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu and the similar things have been carried in other papers also. It is talking about the recent government's decision to infuse the fresh equity into the NIAF. So guys, these are all the articles that we will be discussing. Now guys, this particular news article has been taken from the Live Mint and it is basically highlighting the recent surge which has come into the Bitcoin. And because of this particular thing, the Bitcoins have become again important for our examination and they will be important for GS paper number 3. Now guys, first of all, let's see that what has happened. Now if you see onto this particular graph, guys, Bitcoin has reached a kind of a new high where one Bitcoin is being sold for more than $19,000. Now guys, if we see in this particular year, that is 2020, 167% rise has been registered into the Bitcoins, and this is something new after the gap of 2 years. Now guys, first of all, let's discuss some of the most basic things with respect to the Bitcoin and then we will be coming into these particular kind of analysis. Now guys, when we are talking about Bitcoin is an example of the cryptocurrency. Many a times a student consider that Bitcoin are a separate altogether of currency, but no, they are just one among the large number of cryptocurrencies which are existing. And guys, actually Bitcoin is the most popular one. Therefore, many a times people understand it as altogether some different kind of setup. Now guys, what are these cryptocurrencies which I have talked about? Guys, see, traditionally when we talk about the currencies have already always been issued by central authority or a central bank or a sovereign. Fine. And whenever the central bank is issuing these currencies, the traditional currencies, it has the backing of the sovereign, it has the backing in the form of the gold or silver or any such kind of commodities. But guys, the cryptocurrencies which we are now talking about, number one, they are not issued by any central authority. Number two, there is no physical format of these particular currencies. Guys, these particular things are just issued or just they are mined from a cryptographic code. So guys, just let's understand this particular thing into the most simple manner. There is a kind of an algorithmic program. Clear? Into this algorithmic program, already a limited number of cryptocurrencies are integrated. And when anybody will solve some of the complex equations out of this algorithmic program, he will be getting some bitcoins or some of the cryptocurrencies. Now guys, these particular equations or these particular programs are too much complex and huge computer wavelength or bandwidth is needed to solve this particular thing. So normal people can actually not are practically able to solve these particular things. Now guys, as we are talking about the Bitcoin, there is also a separate algorithmic program for the Bitcoins. Now guys, basically how the values of the Bitcoin is increasing. Now if I tell you today one Bitcoin is trading around 13 lakh rupees. Now guys, how so much of the value of this Bitcoin? See, initially when the Bitcoin was launched in 2009, they were just a kind of a mechanism where the freelancers or the computer programmers, they used to exchange it, and their value was very much less. But what happened into the mean course of time, the people's interest into the Bitcoins increased. Why? Number one, Bitcoin has a kind of a limited quantity. Clear. Number two, guys, Bitcoin's entire work is going on to the speculation. What happens when a Bitcoin's price increased by 1 or 2%? There are large number of people who got interested in it, and they started to buy it. When the people started to buy the Bitcoin, there was a kind of a, you might have been known about the law of demand and supply. When the demand will increase and the supply is constant, what will be happening? The price will increase. Now guys, why the supply is constant? Because I have told you two factors. Number one, only limited Bitcoins can be mined out of this algorithmic program. Secondly, guys, as much complex equations are to be solved, the speed in which the Bitcoins are coming out of it, it is very less. But guys, as the price is increasing every day, people are offering more and more money, and because of this particular thing, today one Bitcoin is more than 13 lakh rupees in Indian currency. So guys, because of this demand and supply, this entire cryptocurrency's value is determined. And exactly this is also the point where the regulators around the world, they are worried about the cryptocurrency. There is no physical backing, there is no sovereign guarantee. So what will happen the day this entire bubble will burst? Now guys, because of this particular thing only, what has happened, the large number of countries, they have not legalized the Bitcoin. Now guys, the same thing was happening in 2017. Now basically this was the time when the Bitcoin was every day going high and it was making the records. Now guys, at this point of time, one Bitcoin was trading around 12.6 lakh rupees. But suddenly within a span of 1 year, what happened? The Bitcoin came from 12.6 lakh rupees to 2.3 lakh rupees. Now guys, a question comes first of all, that why so much decline into the value? The decline was because of two particular reasons. Reason number one, guys, that in India, actually what happened, the Reserve Bank of India banned the trade into the cryptocurrencies, and therefore the basically price came down. Secondly, guys, it was also being speculated in 2019 that government is coming with a draft bill to ban all the cryptocurrencies in India. And guys, as I have told you, that their price is just determined by the perception. So as people saw this particular thing, that government is going against, they basically anybody who was having the Bitcoin, they sold off them, or the new buyers, they also refrained, and the price came down. Now guys, again one more question comes, that okay, if the price of 2.3 lakh rupees in 2018 came, then why now in 2020 the price had again reached to 13 lakh rupees? Guys, the reason for this particular thing is again two. First of all, the Reserve Bank of India initially banned the Bitcoins, but guys, this particular year in March, the Supreme Court has said that such kind of ban is not sustained, and now the ban has been lifted from the Bitcoin. So again, a positive sentiments have came into the market. Number two, guys, as the bill was being talked that it will be brought, but never such a bill has actually been tabled into the parliament. So now people are positive that okay, such bill will not be coming. Moreover, guys, there are some legal experts have also said that such a bill, even if it is placed onto the parliament, it will not be passing the constitutional scrutiny. So again, the Bitcoin is trading so much high. Now guys, if we actually talk about the Bitcoin's status around the world, it is actually falling into the gray zone, where neither it is completely legalized, not it is completely illegal. In India also such a gray zone is there. So because of this particular gray zone, there is both the fear into the Bitcoin as well as expectation into the Bitcoin. However, guys, a positive expectation from the Bitcoin which has come, it is also the blockchain technology. Now, what is this blockchain technology? Blockchain technology is actually the way to manage the Bitcoins. So see, as any of the Bitcoin will be coming out of this Bitcoin cube or the Bitcoin stash, it will be getting registered into the blockchain. And guys, this particular blockchain is decentralized. It is not being updated at any central authority, but at the same time, in millions and billions of computers, wherever these particular blockchain is running, there it is getting updated automatically. So So this particular thing is basically the unique into the blockchain, and because of this particular thing, though governments had seen Bitcoin out of a suspicion, but they have been very much positive about the blockchain technology, because such a kind of a management, ledger management, can be utilized in large number of things. For example, guys, as now India is planning for the COVID-19 vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccines movement, right from the factory to the basically primary healthcare center where it will be given to the public, this entire movement can be registered onto the blockchain, and in such a way there are large number of benefits. Fine. So guys, this is a positive thing which is coming out of the blockchain. Now guys, as we talk about the transactions with respect to the this Bitcoin, how it can be done, if you want to buy a Bitcoin, how you can buy it, guys, there could be the two ways. Number one, peer to peer transaction, where you just find a person who is having the Bitcoin, you give him money and you take it. Now this particular thing is a risky kind of a thing, because many times scamsters also may basically masquerade as that they are the ones who are having, but actually that might be entirely a sham thing. Then guys, next is you can buy the Bitcoin from the cryptographic exchange or the crypto exchange. Now guys, when we are talking, as I have told you that Bitcoins are not completely legalized, completely illegal, so these crypto exchange are also not completely regularized, but there is some safeguard into the crypto exchange, because guys, they are not regulated, but anyhow they come under the Contract Act 1872, and the provisions of the IPC 1860 applies on it. So relatively it is more safer if you are transacting into the Bitcoin via the crypto exchange, and these crypto exchanges could be searched online. So guys, this is all about this Bitcoin, and guys, as a renewed resurgence has been seen into the Bitcoin, so please keep all these particular things into your mind. It could be an important question to be asked. So guys, that's all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Business Standard, and it is talking about the pandemic as how it has turned as a boon for the working women. Now guys, this particular article, personally I believe it is important to enhance the spectrum of your understanding onto the impacts of pandemic onto the women. See, till now we had just seen one end of a spectrum majorly, that is this pandemic is a shadow pandemic onto the women. Women's misery have been increased, but that is only one side. Some benefits have also come, so we will understand all this particular thing, and it is very important for our GS paper number 2, social issues or women related issues. Now guys, just let's see this particular thing. First of all, I will be telling you some of the issues which are a little bit beyond the scope of this particular article, and after understanding this article will make more sense. See, it has been said that if China is the factory of the world, India is the world's back office. Why India has been called world's back office? Because guys, India has a huge pool of skilled labor, soft skills, technological skills, IT skills. All these skills are in abundance into the Indian youth. Reason being, we have such a large demography of the young people. Then guys, we also have the English speaking people. Now guys, though China has the largest population, but their fraction of people who speak fluent English, it is very less, and here India outpaces the China. Then guys, the basically human resource, it is not only into the much quantity, but it is also affordable when compared to the salaries which are expected from the Western as well as other people from other countries. Then guys, the global adaptability has been very much excellent. Fine, global adaptability with respect to guys, Indian people can very easily get accustomed to any particular accent of English, or into basically they can understand any particular kind of culture, and for this particular thing, Indian human resources very much desired. And then guys, we have 4.5 million plus pool who is already working for the global brands, and basically this particular thing is very good to demonstrate that India has adapted well. Now guys, because India is world's back office, what had happened, there was a huge boom into the business process outsourcing in India, and all these particular kind of things. Now guys, women were not actually traditionally being participating into this particular back office trend, because we had known that before the pandemic the offices were the physical workspaces, and into the physical workspaces always the women had a problem, that guys, when they get married, they basically after the marriage new kind of responsibilities come on them. After that, if they get if they are the basically mothers, then the children's responsibility are there. Then guys, many a times relocation of the working women has to be done. Fine, and with the family or with the male members they had to relocate, and many a times there physical office might not be there, so again their career gets compromised. Then guys, petri very local residence, this particular keyword is a very important keyword, please do keep it in your mind. Petri very local residence means that guys, suppose a lady was working before when she was not married. Now in India, social custom is such that mandatorily women has to relocate to the boy's parents house or the boy's house. This is the petri very local residence, that the women has to go to that particular residence, and into that particular thing, if they were earlier working, that particular opportunity will be lost. And after that guys, women also have a very important role into the caregiving, and therefore if any sacrifice has to be made for the parents health, the women are the one who will be making all this particular thing. So guys, therefore the women were not able to work after in the midst of all these particular things. Now guys, what had happened after the pandemic, work from home or work from anywhere has become the custom, and into this particular thing guys, now that relocation, caregiving, children, nothing is there to deter the women. So therefore women's labor force participation rate will be increasing. Now guys, earlier there were even some kind of obstacles into this particular direction. Let me explain you this. Guys, there were old rules of the government where it was provided into the government manuals that any office, if it needs to get access to the international call, then that particular office has to provide their office network diagram to the government agencies, so that it could actually be demonstrated that these international calls are not being made for some any fraudulent or wrong kind of purposes. And guys, because of this particular thing, even before the pandemic, even the corporate, if they wanted to give the women the work from home, they were very much limited. But now into the pandemic, these rules have been changed, and now it is much more easier that the women can be decentralized their work, which involves the character of international connection, and that particular thing can be done because these rules have now been changed. And guys, because of this particular thing, now the TCS, the Tata Consultancy Service, has adopted the 25 by 25 strategy, where it has said that even after the pandemic is over, they will be sticking to the work from home, and they had been said that only 25% of their staff by 2025 will actually be coming into the physical workspaces, and such a kind of a trend is noticeable in most of the countries around the world, and it opens a kind of a new doors for the women for their career advancement. So guys, into this particular way, we can see that the pandemic has turned to be a boon for the women. So guys, this is all about this particular article. Please do provide this particular dimension also if a essay or if any question onto the impact of pandemic onto the women comes. So that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Financial Express, and it is talking about the cyber security concerns into the India, and very important into our GS paper number 3, internal security, where the cyber security has been mentioned. So let's see what has happened guys. Guys, just recently the Mumbai had seen a power outage, and that power outage is being attributed to a cyber attack which was made onto the power utilities. Now guys, the cyber attack has actually considerably been increased into the last few months. We had already discussed that the big basket attack was there, into which 20 million people's sensitive information was compromised. Before that, there was an attack onto the Naukri.com, onto the Times Job, onto the Unacademy. There were onto the Dr. Reddy's, Dr. Lal Path Labs. So much of the cyber intrusions has happened. And now guys, if I just talk about the power utilities, then guys, 40,000 such attacks had happened only into the month of June, and they are being attributed to the Chinese known state actors. And basically it is a basically point of worry. Now guys, government had not provided any report from the cyber cell that who actually carried what was the quantum, and this is also actually a kind of a very bad precedence where government doesn't involves in giving the information, rather conceals it. Now guys, when we are talking about these cyber attacks, a new trend is that the utilities, they are more kind of focusing. this example we had seen. Even guys, in 2017 they attacked the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust into the Mumbai, and the last year the Kudankulam power plant, the nuclear power plant, was also attacked. And guys, we can see that if into the times to come more such attacks will be made, then guys, these attacks might also be used to give some physical harm to India. Clear? Now, guys, into this particular aspect, it has been said that the National Cyber Security Policy of 2013 is now into the dire need of updation, because, guys, now the 7 years have been passed, and within 7 years, the cyber attacks, their sensitivities, the precision, the ways, the technologies have been outpaced whatever was provided into the 2013 document. By the way, guys, this entire National Cyber Security Policy 2013 we had already provided into our magazine, so you can see from the magazine. And guys, into the magazine an entire article we published with respect to the cyber security policy, so there much of the way forward and everything has been given, so please do see from there also. Then guys, if we talk about the National Cyber Security Policy, there are the policy is flawed, and apart from this there are some other problems also into the cyber security architecture in India, and therefore some way forward has been suggested. What are the way forwards? Let's see them. Number one, guys, we need to provide more of the funding for the cyber security. Guys, if I just give you the data, into the financial year 2020-2021, government had just given 170 crore rupees for the cyber security. Now compare it with the other countries. Guys, UK for the 5 year period had given the 18,050 crore rupees. Just see how much difference is there. It shows that government is not taking the cyber security seriously even till now. Secondly, guys, the reporting structure into India is very much weak. There are no such compulsory provisions or very strong functional compulsory provisions that all cyber crimes have to be reported. Even many a times, guys, the police discourage the reporting onto the practical consideration it has been observed. Then guys, there is no provision with respect to the mandatory spending. It means the spending by the corporate onto their cyber security upkeeping. Guys, just let's take one example. We have seen that there is the corporate social responsibility which is provided under the Companies Act 2013 into the section number 135. There it has to be, there is like 2% of your profit you have to provide for the CSR. So limit we have imposed into the CSR. Why no such limit that government has to spend such amount of money for their cyber security? So this is the reform which we need to make. Then guys, there is the dire need that the draft data protection bill needs to be streamlined, and actually it is needed to be given the form of a law. Then guys, we need to collaborate with the countries for the technology transfer which can help into the cyber security. For example, guys, recently the United Kingdom has joined the European Network for Cyber Security, where they will be helping each other in order to fight with the cyber security breaches. The issue is here is that why India is not going into such kind of international collaborations to take the technology transfer. So these are some of the way forward which we can provide if such a question onto this particular line comes. So guys, that's all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about one kind of a prescription which you can give if the question with respect to the declining employability and the export, declining export, if it asked. Guys, just see this particular thing. We have seen into the recent past that the Indian economy has contracted by 23.9%, which is a point of a worry. And actually, guys, India is now seeing the recession, which is the first time since the history of India, the independent history of India. Guys, there have been job losses which are 45-year high. Then guys, the into the lockdown, this 45-year high job unemployment was before the lockdown. After the lockdown, more additional 2 crore jobs have been lost. So basically the problem of the job is very much severe. Now guys, if we talk the MG Narega program, where people fall back when they have lost the job, so into last couple of months 11 crore jobs have been asked under the MG Narega, and these jobs are, guys, very much high. These are 20 times high than the total persons which have been employed by all the companies which are listed onto the stock exchange of India. Such high quantum is the jobs which are being asked by the people up under the MG Narega. It shows the distress which is there into the people. Now guys, it has been actually been told that what government should do into this particular time. So two of the planks are needed to be focused. Number one, guys, we need to create new jobs into the labor intensive sector, and these sectors not only needed to be labor intensive, but they also need to focus onto the export. There are two reasons for this particular thing, guys. Number one, if we talk about the labor intensive sector, they will be absorbing the people. And guys, actually the type of labor intensive sectors are two which are needed, that is the apparel and the leather. Now guys, into the apparel, for the apparel and leather, there was a specific chapter also into the economic survey of 2015 and 16, and they had said that if you will be investing into the labor and apparel sector, much more benefit will be coming into the terms of employment. Just let's see one data which was given by the economic survey 2016 and 17. It was said that if 10 lakh rupees is invested into the steel, one job will be created. If 10 lakh rupees invested into the automobile, three jobs will be created. If it is invested into the leather industry, 70 jobs will be created. And if it is invested into the apparel, then 240 jobs will be created. So now we need to invest more of the money into such kind of industries, particularly the leather and the apparel. Then guys, these leather and apparel also hold one more added advantage, that much of the leather products and the clothing, they are exported. And guys, recently a paper was published which was written by two of the India's prominent economists, that is the Arvind Subramaniam and Shaumitra Chatterjee. Into that particular paper, it was seen that actually India's export was considerably high after the LPG years up till the year 2013, and India's majority of the wealth was created because of the export into the IT as well as export into the merchandise. So basically, exports made India rich. So guys, we need to focus on to the jobs be created into such sector which can actually be used for the exporting, because much high value foreign exchange will be coming from it. Now guys, it has been seen that if we actually see in 2013 and 14, merchandise export was $314 billion, and in 2018 and 19, the merchandise export is $313 billion. It has just been stagnated. So government actually needs to give much more attention onto these particular two sectors. Secondly guys, it has actually been seen that government also needs to focus on one more plank, that is the free trade agreement. Now into the past few years, government is shying away from the free trade agreement, and when the government said that they will not be signing the RCEP, that is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, there the indication was also such that we don't want the FTAs. Now it has been said that FTAs are actually needed to be preferred. There are the exaggerated fears into the FTA that India has never got the benefit, and whenever India had signed an FTA, India's imports have increased. But this particular fear is unfounded, because guys, even if when we are talking about the make in India or the manufacturing sector on which we have to focus, we need to understand this what particular thing, that the manufacturing, it has a very long supply chain. Clear? Even if you are making a mobile phone, its a display might be coming from one country, its battery might be coming from another country, its a kind of a basically chipset is might be coming from another country. So guys, today's manufacturing has become complex, from where from different countries we have to import first, and then we will actually be exporting the product. So therefore the import have always been an intrinsic part, and if after signing the FTA our import is increasing, so it is not actually which is to be worried. Into the long term, India will be making this particular thing more favorable. So guys, focus on two things. Number one, labor intensive capital sectors which have the potential for export, and secondly, don't fear about the FTAs. All this particular thing has been provided into this particular article. So guys, that's all about this particular article. I hope you have understood. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been it has been talking about the labor reforms which has recently been passed, and a very good angle has been provided here, that is the importance of the social dialogue. See, recently, if you have seen, government passed the four labor codes. Clear? The three of them were passed recently, and one was passed in 2019. And these labor codes we have also adequately covered into many of the videos that we have seen into the past. Moreover, guys, again, giving the reference into the magazine also, we have provided a very detailed write up onto this particular thing. Now guys, when we are talking about this particular issue, the trade unions are not happy. More than 10 central trade unions had declared a nationwide strike that they will be carrying against these particular labor codes. Now guys, it has been seen that since 1991, when India attained a kind of a privatization. There is an employer lobby which is influencing the government's decision, and day by day the labor rights are basically they are being ridiculed, and into that particular place the employers are given much more hand for the labor. Now these four labor codes which has just recently been passed, they are also giving much more advantages to the employers, though there are some advantages which came for the labor also. For example, the minimum wage is to be given, the formalization of labor has been talked about, then the social security benefits is to be given to the gig workers and the platform workers. Though these things have been there, but much more benefit to the employer has been given. Now guys, it has been said that in any country the laborers, whenever they will be having the problem, they have the six options. Number one, they can resolve that particular problem by the social dialogue. Social dialogue means that they can have a kind of a round of talks with the government or with the interested stakeholders. Secondly, they can use the political lobby. Fine. Thirdly, they can use the political confrontation. Third is that they can take a legal action by the help of a judiciary. Then they can go and approach the ILO, and the ILO can intervene. And the fifthly is the direct industrial action, such as the strikes which are being talked here. Now, guys, it has been said that the social dialogue particularly is missing from the Indian landscape, and the last Indian Labour Conference happened in 2015, and guys, now there are 5 years that no such kind of social dialogue is there. And guys, actually, not into the labor, but most of the areas government is not conducting the social dialogue. Just take the example of the recently passed farm bills. Onto these farm bills, guys, no discussion was allowed. The bill was not referred to the parliament joint parliamentary committee. When the division what was asked, that particular thing was also not been allowed, and we have seen that how onto the division such big crisis emerged. So guys, actually government's focus onto the social dialogue is missing. Then guys, it has been said that even other things are not that much very much powerful. Just to see that we are talking about the political lobby. Political lobby is just resorted by taking the help from the opposition, but we can see that how the opposition is fragmented. Then guys, the political confrontation is also not being able to be made because the clout is not there. Then guys, it has been said that even the legal action is not being resorted by the trade unions. They are not approaching the judiciary because they don't have the faith into the judiciary. Why they don't have the faith into the judiciary? Because of, guys, one particular thing, that is when the migrant issue happened into the aftermath of the lockdown, when the migrant was walking onto the roads, the judiciary shown a kind of a little bit less sensitive kind of viewpoint. They just said to the newspapers that they should only report that kind of a stand which is said by the government, and immediate relief was not given. However, guys, some positive thing has also been done by the judiciary. That is when the Gujarat amended their factory act in order to increase the working hours, there Supreme Court came to the rescue for the laborers. But actually the perception of judiciary is not good, therefore they are not resorting to the judiciary. Then guys, the ILO's intervention can also not be taken because it will internationalize the kind of entire matter. Moreover, into the May, ILO just intervened a little bit where it provided that the labor codes which are being floated, their collective bargain needs to be given to the laborers. However, much of the benefit didn't come. So guys, finally the direct action becomes the only solution for the laborers, and by this particular thing, these issues are these basically countrywide hartals or strikes have to be called off. Now guys, if we just analyze the nature of the demands that has been made by these particular these trade unions, we will be seeing that actually they are not something very illegitimate, but they are very basic demands, and even these basic demands are not being met, and for that the laborers have to come onto the roads. Guys, what they are asking the direct cash transfer of rupees 7500 per month for all non-income tax paying families, 10 kg free ration per person per month, expansion of MG Narega to provide 200 days of work in a rural areas, then extension of employment guarantee to urban areas, withdrawal of all anti-farmer law and anti-worker labor code, a halt to privatization, protection of government employment, restoration of old pension schemes. Now guys, the things which are being asked, they are not very much extraordinary or revolutionary, and they could have been given by the government. So guys, it is now high time that government should not keep the social dialogue into the cold storage and should focus more on it, so that actually such these kind of confrontations and these kind of things don't happen. So this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be going to the next article. Now guys, here you can see that the Jallikattu It is a Malayalam movie which has been nominated for the Oscar Awards. Clear? And guys, there is a very positive hope that the Jallikattu will be winning this particular entry, and if it wins, if it will be the first movie after the Lagan which won the Oscar prize in 2001. Now guys, when we are talking about the Oscar prize, so Lagan won it in 2001. Before that, Mother India won it in 1957, Salam Bombay in 1988. Now, guys, Jallikattu, when we are talking about it, it is a kind of a bull taming sport which happens into the Tamil Nadu. And against the Jallikattu, there were huge issues or huge, basically, protests which were going on because the Animal Welfare Board of India said that Jallikattu involves the torture of the animal, and the petition into the Supreme Court for the banning of the Jallikattu were made. However, the people into the Tamil Nadu, they believed that any kind of banning of the Jallikattu is an encroachment of their culture, because from the centuries the Jallikattu is being practiced. Now guys, however, the animal activist as well as Animal Welfare Board of India believed that in Jallikattu, when the bull is to be tamed, clear, before that particular thing, the bull is tortured. Just to make the bull more aggressive, he is induced with the alcohol, the basically chemicals are poured into his eyes, his the bulls, the horns, they are sharpened and all such kind of thing, and even many people have been killed into the Jallikattu. Now on to the same title, the movie has been there, and basically it is showing the socio-economic kind of themes. Fine. So this is this movie. Fine. However, guys, much more we need not to go. That is more than sufficient. So that's it. Now we'll be moving to the next. Now, guys, this particular article is talking about government's recent decision to infuse 6,000 crore rupees of equity funding into the NIIF, that is the National Infrastructure Investment Fund. Now, guys, first of all, let's discuss what is this NIIF. NIIF was established in 2015, and it was a fund basically which will be promoting that kind of infrastructure which can bring the economic impact. Clear? And such impactful infrastructure, both the greenfield infrastructure as well as the brownfield infrastructure, was to be promoted. Greenfield means that entirely new projects will be taken up. Brownfield means that the projects which are to be updated, they will also be taken under the NIIF. Now guys, by this infrastructure development, we are now hoping that the unemployment and economic recession which is there, such kind of problems can be resolved. So guys, government has decided that 6,000 crore rupees will be infused by up till 2021 and 2022, and this particular year 2,000 crore rupees will be infused so that the entire NIF becomes more viable. So guys, this is all about this particular article. However, you need not to go that okay, next year how much money will be coming. Just a boost has been given, and this is the part of government's Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, new fiscal injection which the finance minister talked some days back. Fine. So guys, this is all about this particular article. So I hope that you have understood it all. So that was for all. Thank you so much.